Hi there, I'm Dr. Kimberly Olson, licensed clinical psychologist. Very happy to be here with you to discuss the documentary, the very disturbing documentary, Unknown Number. I was in the process, or am in the process, of writing a book called When Your Mother Doesn't Love You. And I came upon this documentary quite accidentally, or maybe there's no mistakes in God's universe. And it really exemplified the point that I'm trying to make in this book, which will be out later in the year. I want to share with you that I watched a lot of YouTube videos, especially from mental health professionals, regarding this case, and I was somewhat dismayed. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, their professional opinions, but I was very disturbed because I think that we still don't fully understand narcissism. And by the grace of God, I did come upon criminologist Pat Brown, and she called Kendra, the mother, a psychopath. And while we're not going to use that term in licensed psychology, uh, doesn't make it any less true. And I am very, very pleased that somebody was able to sift through the nonsense and see things for what they are and were. Some mental health professionals were talking about Munchausen's by proxy or factitious disorder by proxy, which I have to respectfully disagree. Um, Factitious disorder is when you make yourself sick and you get some sort of secondary gain from the sick role. Okay. Factitious disorder by proxy is when you make somebody else sick, usually a child, and you get some sort of secondary gain from this sick role. Now, if Lauren had been in and out of psych hospitals, seeing 30 therapists, and mother had become essentially an armchair psychologist, learned the language. Um, I would lean more towards that because, generally speaking, factitious disorder by proxy is a triangle where we have the victim, we have the perpetrator, and then we have the medical or psychiatric community. So, while I might not be right, I just have to respectfully disagree. I believe that this is unadulterated narcissism. We still struggle in our community in being very sexist with our diagnoses. So, women who are very emotional, difficult, and manipulative, they call them borderline. Men who are exploitative, we call them narcissists. But guess what? They can exist in both genders. And in watching the film, I was incredibly disturbed by the mother's reaction. So the police are there to tell Lauren what's been going on and who's responsible. And the mother started to hold her and say, I don't want to leave her right now. Like there was a complete disconnect from the fact that your child just learned that it was you that was tormenting her. She still had that narcissistic sense of self-importance. So let me tell you just a little bit about narcissism. I'm not going to go over the DSM-5 criteria, but eh, people that are very entitled, incredibly self-centered, and at the end of the day, everything is about them. Even when they're being gracious, it's about them. It's about something that we call impression management. Okay. So to the narcissist, how they appear to the community is more important than how they appear to their family. Okay. That reputation is incredibly important to them. Appearances are very important to them. And so they'll do a lot of really seemingly nice things with really shitty motives. Okay. The one that bakes all the cookies for the bake sale, by the way, she may be absolutely purely intended. I'm not saying that that's a sign of narcissism. I'm saying their motives might be to be perceived as a good mother. Okay, so it's all about motivation, and that's tough. It's a little bit tougher to sort of wrap your head around people's motivations. What I did see is that uh, Lauren was somewhat isolated. She didn't have a lot of friends, so she was very dependent upon her mom. She and her mom likely had a very enmeshed relationship. Um, and when Owen entered the picture, everything was threatened. So, what I mean by that is that for narcissists, there's one winner and everything is a competition. And if you have something that I want, okay, I'm going to fight you to get it. And unfortunately, narcissistic mothers will absolutely sabotage their daughters. I heard a narcissistic mother once say, "Yeah, you know what? I want my kids to do well, but not better than me." And she meant it. And they sabotage in all different kinds of ways. Like they might say something that's so vulgar and disturbing that it absolutely disrupts that person's day. They might undermine their self-esteem, okay, like we saw in this documentary. So we've got a beautiful little girl who met Owen, and mom instantly went into competition mode. She was cutting his steak, overly friendly, not at all uncommon for a narcissistic mother to go into competitive mode when the daughter has a boyfriend. Okay, that's sadly it's not uncommon. Okay. And the comments, the texts that she began sending to her daughter, that you look anorexic, you got a flat ass, no one's ever gonna like you, were all intended to undermine her. And yet, it was really a projection, okay? Lauren is a beautiful little girl, just gorgeous. And mom was incredibly thin. And when you're incredibly thin, you don't frequently have a booty to speak of. She's older, okay? And Owen just wasn't interested. Okay. But mom went into this competitive mode, and that's why we start hearing the sexual nonsense because, mom is sexually experienced and sees that as something she has to offer him that appropriately so, Lauren is not in a place to offer. Okay. And so I want you to just take a minute and really go with that thought of being told sometimes hundreds of times a day that you're not worthwhile, that you're ugly, that no one's ever going to want you, that your boyfriend doesn't want you, that I'm scamming on your boyfriend, and ultimately take your life. That little girl dealt with that every day for 2 years. It's a miracle that she's here based on that level of abuse, of psychological abuse at the hands of the person who's supposed to love you the most, the person who bore you, the person that we have, all these wonderful maternal stereotypes about, which, by the way, is one of the reasons that mothers are allowed to get away with narcissism, because there's this stereotype that all mothers love their children. And in fact, there's probably somebody out there right now that's saying, well, she does love her, but she's very sick, or she loves her as much as she has the capacity to love her. And while all those things are true, they set the victim up to be continually obligated to tolerate this abuse. If your mother loves you, she really does. Then the victim feels she has to tolerate the abuse or he has to tolerate the abuse. And I'm going to call BS on that. Okay. Because you are somebody's mother, that doesn't mean you get to psychologically abuse your child and the child is just supposed to take it. Okay, out of some sort of gratitude, loyalty, confusion, because narcissists are masters at guilting their children into thinking that everything's their fault. Okay. So at the end of the day, Lauren meets Owen. Mom is jealous, and the anxiety that came over her was overwhelming because not only now was Lauren getting all the attention, okay, she also didn't have Lauren all to herself. So we're going in a couple of different directions. Okay. She could not cope with that. And for a narcissistic parent, you win at any cost. At any cost. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that it destroys your child. Doesn't matter what it does to their self-esteem. As long as you win, that's what matters to them. And my friends, I can't call that love. I don't know how that can be love. It's sick, it's twisted. And again, I know there's somebody out there going, well, it's sick and twisted, but it's love. Or define love. Well, I'm going to define love. It's a verb. It's not some gushy word you get to throw around that enables you to hurt other people, especially your own children. Okay. And I want you to look at her response when confronted. Again, she stayed in the room with her daughter and wanted to hold her. And it's like it never occurred to her that her daughter would be enraged when she would find this out. In fact, I'm fairly certain that Lauren just dissociated in that moment. But I need to be here for her. Look at her reactions. Everybody makes mistakes. I just got caught. A mistake is farting in church. A mistake is burning potatoes. A mistake is, I don't know, failing some kind of test. Okay? This is not a mistake. This is your needs, your pathological need to be superior, to cover up for an inferiority complex usurped your daughter's need. You terrorized your daughter to meet your own needs. Baby, that ain't love. And I keep saying that, not because I would want to look Lauren in the eye and say, your mom doesn't love you. I say it to free her. You say that again. I say it to free her. If we could face reality, like the fact that a narcissist really isn't capable of loving anyone without damaging them, then she would be free. See, there's not the obligation. Well, she's your mother. You need to respect your mother. Okay. No, she doesn't love you. She can't. And that means you're free. That means when you're getting these ridiculous phone calls from prison where your mother is saying that, why didn't you say that I love you? Okay. It's still all about her. And she has the need to be viewed as a good mother. Okay. And you, my friend, are a source of narcissistic supply, nothing more. And it's important to her right now to reconnect with you for impression management, but not out of love. And what I want to share with you is that not everybody gets a mother who loves them. In fact, I think it's much more common than we ever talk about because, again, the whole maternal thing is so sanctified in our culture. But you will find people who will love you. And you'll know it by their actions. You'll know it by the way they treat you. You'll know it by them placing your best interest ahead of their own. That's love. Not trying to destroy your child because you can't win or because you're jealous. And until she can own that, there's not a lot that anything is going to do. Therapy or anything else is going to do. I heard the trauma thing, and honestly, that's what I initially thought, was that this person must be grossly traumatized to have created this level of pathology. And then we hear in court that she was raped at 17. And while that's very painful, I will share with you that myself and many other people have survived profoundly worse, and it never occurred to us to destroy our children over it. That's bullshit. It's an excuse. It's a cop-out. And as of right now, we don't have a lot of great therapy for narcissists because narcissists fire us when we start telling the truth. That's what they do. They get rid of us and they demean us and gaslight us just like they do to your children. Okay? So chances are what you see in your mother right now is what you're going to get. And based on that, make decisions for your life. Okay. There's lots of good surrogate mommies out there. You're allowed to grieve, and yet you're allowed to get nurturing from other people. Okay. But this isn't something small. This isn't something that we can dismiss with diagnoses. This is some pathological BS. And the damage that it did to you, okay, is valid and it's real. And you owe nobody anything in your recovery process, just yourself. And hopefully in your own recovery process, you will learn to self-parent. You'll learn to rescue your own inner child. But until then, look around you, my beautiful friend. There are people who can provide you with that mothering and that nurturing. So thank you again to Pat Brown. It was so refreshing to hear a spade called a spade, because we don't get a lot of that anymore, and it needed to be done. And it needed to be done really to validate Lauren. With all this dismissive crap, the meta message we were still sending is, she's your mother, she loves you. No, she has the right to heal. Mother's not going to change. So give me your thoughts on this. And again, I'm not here to be adversarial. I'm just here to give some truth, or at least truth from my perception, and some freedom to a little girl who is still feeling and behaving like she's obligated to a narcissistic mother. I appreciate you. Hope to see you soon on another video. Thank you.